What if everything you believe about habitable worlds is wrong? Picture a planet. You're imagining a sphere. Of course you are. Every world you've ever seen, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, is round. Gravity demands it. Physics enforces it. And yet, right now, astronomers are tracking objects in our galaxy that shatter this assumption completely. They're called Jacobi ellipsoids. And they're shaped like footballs, not slightly oval. Not roughly spherical. Elongated. Stretched. Alien in the most literal sense. And here's what should keep you awake tonight: some of them might be habitable. You've been taught that life needs very specific conditions. A rocky planet. Liquid water. The right distance from a star. But what if the shape of the world itself could create conditions for life that spherical planets simply cannot? What if being football-shaped isn't a cosmic accident, but an advantage? By the end of this journey, you'll understand exactly why some scientists believe the strangest worlds in the universe might be the most alive. Let's establish what we know. In 1887, German mathematician Carl Jacobi proved something remarkable. He demonstrated mathematically that a rapidly spinning fluid body doesn't have to become a sphere. Under the right conditions, specific rotation speeds, specific densities, it stabilizes into an elongated ellipsoid. A cosmic football. For over a century, this remained theoretical. A mathematical curiosity. Then came the Kepler Space Telescope. Between 2009 and 2018, Kepler discovered over 2,700 confirmed exoplanets. But buried in that data was something stranger: transit signals that didn't match spherical profiles. Light curves with anomalies. Shapes that suggested something else. Dr. Prabal Saxena, planetary scientist at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, has spent years modeling what he calls extreme geometry worlds. His team's simulations reveal that rapidly rotating planets, especially young, hot ones still cooling from formation, can maintain stable elongated shapes for billions of years. We assumed spherical because that's what we see locally, Saxena explains. But the universe doesn't care about our assumptions. Here's where it gets profound. A football-shaped planet wouldn't just look different. It would function differently. The physics of habitability would transform completely. Consider gravity. On Earth, gravity pulls uniformly toward the center. You weigh the same in Tokyo and Toronto. But on a Jacobi ellipsoid, gravity varies dramatically across the surface. At the pointed ends, you'd weigh significantly less than at the equatorial bulge. This creates something unprecedented: natural gravity gradients across a single world. Now consider atmosphere. On a spherical planet, air pressure distributes relatively evenly. On an elongated world, atmospheric density would concentrate around the equator and thin toward the poles. You'd have multiple distinct atmospheric zones, potentially multiple distinct climates, on one planet. Dr. Sarah Seeger, MIT astrophysicist and pioneer in exoplanet atmospheres, has noted that atmospheric diversity dramatically increases the probability of habitable niches. Life doesn't need a whole planet, she's observed. It needs a pocket. A zone. A chance. A football-shaped world might offer dozens of such chances. The implications cascade. Different gravity zones mean different evolutionary pressures. Different atmospheric densities mean different temperature ranges. Different surface conditions existing simultaneously on one world. We've spent decades searching for Earth-like planets. Spherical. Temperate. Familiar, but what if familiarity is the wrong filter? What if the cosmos is teeming with life on worlds so strange we almost didn't think to look, and the most alien shapes might harbor the most surprising biology? The search is just beginning. The idea that planets must be spheres is older than science itself. In ancient Greece, Pythagoras declared the sphere the perfect shape. Aristotle agreed. When Copernicus placed the Sun at the center of the solar system, he kept the planets round. When Newton described gravity, spherical symmetry was baked into every equation. For 2,000 years, the cosmic sphere went unquestioned. Then Isaac Newton noticed something troubling. In 1687, while calculating Earth's shape, Newton realized our planet wasn't perfectly round. It bulged at the equator. Rotation was flattening it, subtly, but measurably. Earth was an oblate spheroid. Slightly squashed. The perfect sphere wasn't. This opened a door that would take centuries to walk through. Carl Jacobi pushed it wide open. His 1887 analysis proved that rotation could do far more than flatten. Given enough angular momentum, a spinning fluid body would stretch, elongate, stabilize into what mathematicians now call a Jacobi ellipsoid, a shape closer to an American football than anything in our solar system. But there was a problem. A significant one. No one could find any. For over a century, Jacobi ellipsoids remained trapped in equations. Astronomers searched. They found oblate worlds, Saturn, visibly flattened by its rapid spin. They found tidally stretched moons, Io, pulled by Jupiter's gravity. But true Jacobi ellipsoids, football-shaped worlds spinning in stable equilibrium. Nothing. The mathematical possibility seemed cosmically forbidden. Some researchers began to wonder if the conditions required were simply too extreme, too rare. Perhaps the universe preferred spheres after all. Then, in 2003, everything changed. A team led by Dr. Michael Brown at Caltech discovered Haumea. Haumea orbits beyond Neptune in the Kuiper belt. It's classified as a dwarf planet. And it's shaped like a flattened football, rotating once every 4 hours, the fastest spin of any known equilibrium body in our solar system. Its dimensions are staggering, roughly 1,900 kilometers along its longest axis, but only 900 kilometers along its shortest. Haumea wasn't supposed to exist. The model said objects this large should have enough gravity to pull themselves spherical. But Haumea's rapid rotation creates centrifugal force that counteracts gravitational compression. It exists in perfect, impossible balance. Dr. Brown's team had found proof. Jacobi ellipsoids weren't mathematical fantasies. They were real. But here's the complication that shattered the simple narrative. Haumea is a frozen dwarf planet. No atmosphere. No liquid water. Surface temperature around -241 degrees Celsius. By every traditional measure, it's profoundly dead. The scientific community's initial response was predictable: interesting shape, zero relevance to habitability. Football-shaped worlds might exist, but they'd exist in the cosmic deep freeze, too cold, too small, too far from any star to matter for life. Case closed. Curiosity satisfied. Move on, except a small group of researchers refused to accept that conclusion. Dr. Aki Roberge, an astrophysicist at NASA Goddard, began asking uncomfortable questions. What if Haumea wasn't the template, but the edge case? What if larger Jacobi ellipsoids could form closer to stars? What if they could retain atmospheres, maintain liquid water, sustain temperatures compatible with biochemistry? The models had never been run. No one had simulated a football-shaped world in a star's habitable zone. The assumption was that such objects couldn't form there, couldn't survive there, couldn't exist. But assumptions aren't evidence, and when Roberge's team began modeling warm Jacobi ellipsoids, elongated worlds bathed in starlight rather than frozen in darkness, the results defied every expectation. We expected the simulations to fail quickly, Roberge admitted. They didn't. Something unprecedented was emerging from the data. Something no one had predicted. The simulations revealed something that shouldn't have been possible. Warm Jacobi ellipsoids didn't just survive in habitable zones. They thrived. The models showed stable configurations lasting billions of years, with surface conditions unlike anything on spherical worlds. Dr. Roberge's team discovered that the elongated shape created a phenomenon they called gradient habitability. On a spherical planet, the habitable zone is essentially two-dimensional, a band of latitudes where temperatures permit liquid water. On a football-shaped world, habitability becomes three-dimensional. The pointed ends of the ellipsoid experience lower gravity, thinner atmosphere, and reduced solar heating. The equatorial bulge experiences higher gravity, denser atmosphere, and intensified warmth. Between these extremes exists a continuous spectrum of conditions spanning what would require multiple different planets in a spherical paradigm. One world. Dozens of climate niches. A planetary diversity engine, but the physics community pushed back hard. Dr. Raymond Pierre Humbert, atmospheric scientist at Oxford and a leading voice in planetary climate modeling, raised a fundamental objection. Elongated planets would experience catastrophic tidal forces from their host stars. Any world close enough for liquid water would be torn apart or tidally locked into spherical collapse. The mathematics seemed irrefutable. Tidal forces scale with proximity. A warm ellipsoid would face gravitational stresses that a frozen Kuiper belt object like Haumea never encounters. The elegant solution was apparently impossible in practice. Roberge's team went back to the simulations. They added tidal effects. They modeled gravitational stress. They prepared to watch their football-shaped worlds tear themselves apart. The results stunned them. Certain orbital configurations created resonance patterns that actually stabilized the elongated shape. A football-shaped planet orbiting in specific resonance with its star and neighboring planets could maintain structural integrity indefinitely. The tidal forces didn't destroy the ellipsoid. They reinforced it. Dr. Pierre Humbert reviewed the findings personally. His response was measured but unmistakable. I did not expect these configurations to be stable. The orbital dynamics are counterintuitive but mathematically sound. This changes the parameter space considerably. Everything astronomers thought they knew about habitable planet formation was incomplete. The assumption that only spherical worlds could exist in warm orbits had never been rigorously tested. When tested, it failed. But stability was only the beginning of the revelations. The team modeled atmospheric behavior on these stabilized warm ellipsoids. What they found transformed the habitability question entirely. On a spherical planet, atmosphere circulates in relatively predictable cells, Hadley cells, Ferrel cells, polar vortices. Weather systems follow patterns we understand. On a football-shaped world, atmospheric dynamics become radically different. The varying gravity across the surface creates pressure differentials that drive constant atmospheric mixing. Air flows from the high-gravity equatorial bulge toward the low-gravity poles in perpetual circulation. This isn't weather. It's a planetary-scale engine redistributing heat, chemicals, and potentially nutrients. Dr. Sarah Stewart, planetary scientist at UC Davis who specializes in extreme planetary formation, described the implications. You'd have atmospheric rivers carrying material from one climate regime to another continuously. Chemical gradients that never equilibrate. Energy flows that spherical planets simply cannot generate. For life, this matters enormously. Biology requires energy gradients. Metabolism is fundamentally the exploitation of chemical and thermal differences. A spherical planet offers limited gradients. A football-shaped world offers gradients everywhere, always, built into its fundamental geometry. The question was no longer whether such worlds could exist. The question became something far more provocative. Could they be better for life than spherical planets? The assumption of Earth-like habitability wasn't just incomplete. It might have been exactly backwards. The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. Not physics. Not atmospheric modeling. Biology. Dr. Chris McKay, senior scientist at NASA Ames and one of the world's foremost astrobiologists, had spent decades studying life in Earth's most extreme environments. Antarctic ice. Atacama Desert. Deep ocean vents. His research revealed a consistent pattern. Life doesn't just tolerate environmental gradients. It requires them. Every ecosystem on Earth exists at a boundary. Where warm meets cold. Where wet meets dry. Where chemical abundance meets scarcity. These transition zones concentrate biological activity. They drive evolution. They create opportunity. McKay reviewed the football-shaped planet models with this lens. What he recognized changed the entire conversation. A Jacobi ellipsoid isn't a single environment, McKay observed. It's thousands of overlapping ecosystems compressed into one world. Every point on the surface represents a unique combination of gravity, pressure, temperature, and atmospheric chemistry. From a biological perspective, it's not a planet. It's a laboratory. The implications cascaded rapidly. On Earth, species must migrate vast distances to find new ecological niches. Evolution requires geographic isolation, followed by reunion. It's slow. It's constrained by continental positions, ocean currents, mountain ranges. On a football-shaped world, ecological boundaries exist everywhere simultaneously. A creature could walk from high-gravity tropical conditions to low-gravity Arctic conditions in kilometers rather than thousands of kilometers. Evolutionary pressure wouldn't just exist. It would be inescapable. Dr. Sarah Imari Walker, theoretical physicist and astrobiologist at Arizona State University, has spent years studying the origins of life. Her research suggests that life emerges most readily in environments with sustained chemical disequilibrium, systems where energy flows continuously and reactions never reach static balance. Walker examined the atmospheric models for warm Jacobi ellipsoids. Her assessment was unambiguous. These worlds are disequilibrium engines. The geometry itself prevents chemical or thermal equilibrium from ever being achieved. If life requires sustained energy gradients to emerge and evolve, football-shaped planets might be optimal rather than marginal. Optimal. Not merely possible. Not grudgingly habitable. Potentially superior to spherical worlds for the emergence and diversification of life. The scientific community began connecting threads that had seemed unrelated for decades. Why does Earth have such extraordinary biodiversity? Partly because plate tectonics creates environmental variation. Mountains rise. Oceans shift. Climates change. Variability drives adaptation. A football-shaped planet has variability built into its fundamental structure. No plate tectonics required. No orbital wobbles needed to trigger ice ages. The geometry itself guarantees perpetual environmental diversity. Dr. Peter Ward, paleontologist at University of Washington and author of the Rare Earth Hypothesis, had long argued that complex life requires extraordinary cosmic luck. The right planet in the right orbit with the right moon and the right magnetic field. A spherical world needs everything to align perfectly. Ward reviewed the ellipsoid research with characteristic skepticism. His conclusion surprised even him. I've spent my career arguing that habitable planets are rare. But this geometry solves several problems simultaneously. Atmospheric mixing distributes heat without requiring ocean currents. Gravity gradients create diverse habitats without requiring continental drift. I'm not saying these worlds would definitely harbor life. I'm saying the obstacles are fewer than I expected. The synthesis was emerging. Football-shaped planets weren't cosmic oddities to be catalogued and forgotten. They represented a parallel pathway to habitability that science had overlooked entirely because the solar system offered no local examples. We searched for Earth twins. We should have been searching for Earth alternatives, but the real question wasn't about distant worlds anymore. It was about something closer to home. The James Webb Space Telescope changed everything in 2022. For the first time, humanity possessed an instrument capable of analyzing exoplanet atmospheres in detail. We could detect water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane. We could search for biosignatures across interstellar distances. But Webb was designed with spherical planets in mind. Its transit detection algorithms assume circular shadows. Its atmospheric models assume uniform gravity. If football-shaped worlds exist in habitable zones, we might be systematically missing them. Dr. Nicole Lewis, astronomer at Cornell University and deputy project scientist for Webb's Transiting Exoplanet program, acknowledged the limitation openly. Our detection pipelines are optimized for what we expected to find. Elongated planets would produce transit curves we might flag as anomalies or instrument errors. We need to revisit our assumptions. NASA's next generation of planet hunters will incorporate these insights. The Habitable Worlds Observatory, planned for the 2030s, will specifically include detection parameters for non-spherical geometries. For the first time, humanity will search the cosmos without assuming planets must look like Earth. The implications extend beyond detection. If football-shaped worlds harbor life, that life would be profoundly alien. Evolution under variable gravity produces bodies we cannot easily imagine. Atmospheric density gradients might favor different locomotion strategies. Creatures might migrate between gravity zones the way terrestrial animals migrate between seasons. Dr. Caleb Scharf, director of astrobiology at Columbia University, has speculated extensively on non-spherical world biology. We assume bilateral symmetry because Earth's uniform gravity favors it. On a gradient world, asymmetry might be advantageous. Life there could look like nothing evolution has produced here. We've spent 60 years searching for extraterrestrial intelligence by looking for radio signals. We've spent 30 years searching for biosignatures on Mars-like worlds. We built our entire concept of habitability around one template, Earth. But Earth is not a universal answer. It's a local example. One solution among many to the problem of sustaining complexity in a hostile cosmos. The football-shaped planet hypothesis suggests something humbling. The universe might be teeming with life in configurations we never considered because we couldn't see past our own reflection. Remember the question we started with. What if everything you believe about habitable worlds is wrong? Carl Jacobi proved mathematically that strange shapes could be stable. Haumea proved they actually exist. The modeling teams proved they could survive in warm orbits. The biologists proved they might be optimal for life. Each assumption we held was reasonable. Each was incomplete. We imagined life required a world like ours. Round. Temperate. Familiar. But the cosmos has no obligation to be familiar. The laws of physics permit possibilities we're only beginning to explore. And somewhere out there, orbiting stars we haven't yet named, worlds shaped like footballs might be spinning through space with atmospheres full of chemistry we'd recognize as alive. Dr. Carl Sagan spent his life arguing that humanity's perspective was too narrow. That we consistently underestimated the creativity of nature. That the universe was not only stranger than we imagined but stranger than we could imagine. He never knew about warm Jacobi ellipsoids. He never saw the habitability models. But he predicted this moment with uncanny precision. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. The spherical worlds we've catalogued are not the end of the search. They're the beginning. The true cosmic census includes shapes we dismissed, configurations we ignored, possibilities we never tested because we assumed we already knew the answer. You started this journey believing planets were round. Now you understand that belief was a limitation. The universe is wider than our assumptions. Life is more tenacious than our models. And somewhere, on a world shaped like nothing you've ever seen, something might be looking up at strange skies and wondering if it's alone. It isn't.